The Queen had never seen a human before. Then her guards suddenly surrounded him. The ship shook so hard that my teeth rattled. And before I could grab the control stick, the whole world outside the window turned into fire and glass. I was Ethan Marlowe, a cargo pilot with a broken engine, and no time left to fix it, and in the space of 3 seconds, my stolen freighter tore through a crystal dome and slammed into the middle of a royal court on a planet I had never heard of. Smoke filled the cabin. My ears rang. I unbuckled myself, pushed the broken door open, and stumbled out into a hall that looked like it belonged to a god, not a queen. The ceiling stretched higher than any building I had ever seen, carved from black stone that seemed to drink in the light. And standing around me, closing in from every direction, were guards taller than any man I had ever met, their bodies covered in hard plates, their weapons already pointed straight at my chest. I lifted both hands slowly. My heart pounded so loud I thought they could hear it too. "I didn't mean to land here," I said, keeping my voice steady, even though my legs wanted to shake. "My engine failed. I am not here to cause trouble." None of them answered. Their eyes, dark and unblinking, studied me the way a hunter studies something it has never hunted before. One of them stepped closer, taller than the rest, with sharp ridges running down both arms. He did not lower his weapon. A new voice cut through the hall, calm and cold, carrying a weight that made every guard straighten at once. "Let him stand." The guards did not move their weapons, but they stopped closing in. From the far end of the hall, past rows of stone pillars, a figure rose from a high seat. She moved slowly, her long body wrapped in armor the color of deep water, and her eyes, 6 of them, fixed on me the moment she stepped down from her throne. This was the Queen, and it was clear from the way the whole room went silent that no one questioned her. She stopped a few steps away and studied me from head to foot, the way someone studies an insect they have never seen before. "What are you?" she said, not as a question filled with fear, but with pure curiosity. "A human," I answered. "My name is Ethan. I am not a soldier. I am not a spy. My ship broke down, and I crashed here by accident." Her eyes narrowed. She turned her head toward the guard captain, the tall one with the sharp ridges, and gave a small nod. Instantly, 4 more guards moved from the shadows and surrounded me, closing the circle so tight I could feel the heat coming off their armor. "Captain Voss believes you are lying," the Queen said. "No creature crashes into the heart of an empire by accident." I forced myself to breathe evenly. Panic would not help me here. "I understand why that sounds impossible," I said. "But ask your engineers to look at my ship. The coolant line is broken. I was trying to reach the nearest station when your gravity pulled me in." "I am not your enemy." The Queen tilted her head, studying my voice, my face, my hands, as if trying to read something written beneath my skin. "Your kind has no armor," she said. "No claws, no plates. How does a creature like you survive long enough to fly a ship at all?" "We survive because we don't give up," I said. "That's all we have. We're not strong, not by your standards, but we are stubborn, and we adapt fast." Something shifted in her expression, though I couldn't tell if it was interest or suspicion. Before she could speak again, Captain Voss stepped forward, his voice low and sharp. "Your Majesty, let me test his claim. If his kind is truly harmless, he will not resist." The Queen's eyes moved to him, then back to me. She said nothing, which Voss took as permission. He raised one hand, and the guards around me tightened their circle even more, weapons humming with charged energy. My mind raced. I had no weapon, no way to fight 6 armored soldiers, and no idea what would happen if I gave them a reason to strike first. So I did the only thing I could think of. I stood taller, lowered my hands slightly, and looked straight at Voss. "If you want to test me with words first," I said, "because if you hurt me for no reason, every human who comes after me will remember it. And there will be more of us coming, whether you want that or not." The hall went completely silent. Even the guards seemed to hesitate. Voss's hand hovered in the air, and for a long moment nobody moved. Then the Queen raised one clawed hand, just slightly, and Voss stepped back at once. She walked closer to me, her long shadow falling over my entire body. "You speak as if you are not afraid," she said, "yet I can smell fear on your skin. How strange. that a creature can feel fear and still stand its ground. That's exactly how we survive, I said. Fear doesn't stop us, it just makes us more careful. For the first time since I had crashed into her court, the Queen's eyes softened, just barely. She turned to her guards and gave a single command. Step back, all of you. The circle broke apart, and for the first time since the crash, I could breathe without a weapon pointed directly at my heart. But I knew this was far from over. The Queen's curiosity had only begun, and something told me the real test was still ahead. She led me across the long hall, her guards trailing several steps behind, weapons lowered but ready. We passed towering statues carved from black stone, each one shaped like a warrior queen from a different era. The ceiling above us glowed faintly with strange blue light, casting long shadows across the floor. My people have never met a creature like you, the Queen said as we walked. We have crossed 40 systems. We have met metal creatures, gas creatures, creatures with no eyes, and creatures with too many, but never one so fragile that survives on will alone. Most of the galaxy probably thinks we're not worth noticing, I said. We're small, we're slow compared to a lot of species, and we don't have any natural weapons built into our bodies, but that's never stopped us from building things bigger than ourselves. She stopped walking and turned to face me fully. Prove it, she said. Show me this, will you speak of? Not with words, with action. Before I could ask what she meant, a side door opened, and 2 more guards entered, pulling a metal cage between them. Inside the cage was a creature unlike anything I had ever seen, easily the size of a large animal from home, with long limbs and sharp claws that scraped against the metal bars every time it moved. This is a Drask, the Queen said. Bred for the arena, it has never lost a match against any of my warriors. My stomach tightened. You want me to fight that? No, she said. I want to see how you think when there is no way to win by strength. The cage door opened, and the Drask stepped out slowly, its eyes locking onto me immediately. The guards spread out around the open space, forming a wide circle, watching closely. I had no weapon, no armor, and no idea how fast that creature could move. My mind worked quickly, searching for anything I could use. There was no way I could match its strength or speed. But strength and speed were not the only tools I had. I stepped back slowly, keeping my eyes on the Drask, and reached into the pocket of my jacket, pulling out a small flashlight I always carried for engine repairs. It was nothing special, just a simple tool, but it was the only thing I had. The Drask lunged forward the moment I moved. I dropped low, rolled to the side, and clicked the flashlight on, pointing the bright beam directly into its eyes. The creature flinched, shaking its head, momentarily blinded and confused. It was only a few seconds, but it was enough. I used that time to scramble toward one of the stone pillars, putting solid rock between myself and the creature. The Drask crashed into the pillar instead, shaking the whole hall, and I heard several of the guards murmur among themselves in surprise. I kept moving, staying just out of reach, using the pillars as cover, keeping the flashlight ready every time the creature got close enough to see. It was not about beating the Drask in strength, it was about outlasting it, outsmarting it, using the space around me instead of fighting head-on. After several long minutes that felt like hours, the Drask began to slow down, its energy fading, confused by an opponent who refused to stand still and fight the way it expected. Finally, the guards moved in and guided the tired creature back into its cage, and the hall fell silent once again. I stood there, breathing hard, sweat running down my face, but alive and unharmed. The Queen watched me the entire time without saying a word, her eyes unreadable. You did not fight it, she finally said. You thought around it. That's what I meant earlier, I said, still catching my breath. We don't always win by being the strongest thing in the room. We win by never stopping, and by using our minds when our bodies aren't enough. She studied me for a long moment, then turned to Voss, who stood near the cage with an expression I could not quite read. Captain, what do you make of this? Voss hesitated before answering. It is unlike anything I expected, Your Majesty. The creature fought with its mind, not its claws. I have never seen a challenger avoid the Drask for so long. The Queen nodded slowly, then walked toward me again, stopping close enough that I had to look up to meet her eyes. You have survived my curiosity twice now, she said, But there is one more thing I must know before I decide what you are to my empire. Are you willing to answer honestly?" "Yes," I said, though a part of me wondered what kind of question could matter more than facing a wild creature with nothing but a flashlight. "If I return you to your ship right now, and let you fly away freely, will you tell your people what you found here? Will you bring more of your kind to look for this place?" It was a fair question, and a dangerous one. If I lied and she somehow learned the truth later, it could destroy any trust I had built. So I told her the truth. "Yes," I said, "I will tell them. Not because I want to invade your home, but because meeting you is the kind of thing that changes how we see the universe. We would want to know more, to understand you, maybe even to trade with you one day, but that choice would never be mine alone to make. It would belong to leaders wiser than me." The hall stayed silent for a long moment. Even Voss seemed to be waiting for her reaction. The Queen studied my face carefully, as if trying to catch a lie hidden somewhere behind my eyes. Finally, she straightened and looked past me toward her guards. "Lower your weapons," she said. "All of you, this human is no longer a prisoner in my court." The guards obeyed at once, stepping back and lowering their weapons to their sides. I felt the tension in my shoulders finally begin to ease, though my legs still felt shaky from everything that had happened. "You may return to your ship," the Queen continued, turning back to me. "My engineers will repair the damage your crash caused, and they will look at your broken engine as well. You will leave this place able to fly home." I opened my mouth to thank her, but she raised one hand, silencing me gently. "Do not thank me yet," she said. "I am not doing this only out of kindness. I am doing this because I wish for your people to remember this meeting as one built on respect, not fear. When your leaders decide what to do with the story you bring home, I want them to know that my empire chose peace first." "I understand," I said, "and I promise, whatever comes next, I will tell them exactly what happened here. The truth, nothing more." She watched me for a long moment before speaking again, her voice quieter than before. "You are the first of your kind I have ever met, Ethan. I did not expect to feel anything close to respect for a creature so soft, so easily harmed. Yet here you stand, having faced my guards, my creature, and my questions, without once raising a hand in anger." "That's who we are," I said. "We don't need to be the strongest species in the room to matter. We just need to keep standing back up, no matter how many times something knocks us down." For the first time since I had crashed into her court, the Queen's expression shifted into something that almost looked like approval. She turned and began walking back toward her throne, and the guards parted to let her pass. "Voss," she said without turning around, "escort him to his ship personally. See that the repairs are finished properly, and make sure no one interferes with his departure." Voss bowed his head and moved to stand beside me. Up close, he looked less threatening than before, his sharp ridges catching the blue light from above. "This way," he said simply, and led me out of the hall through a side passage. We walked in silence for a while, passing through corridors filled with more towering statues and glowing panels covered in symbols I could not read. Finally, Voss spoke, his voice lower than it had been in front of the Queen. "I have served her for many years," he said. "I have never seen her lower her guard for any visitor, especially not on the very day they arrived uninvited. I didn't exactly plan this landing," I said, managing a tired smile. "No," he agreed, "but perhaps that is why it worked. You had no time to prepare a performance. What she saw was simply what you are." We reached a large hangar where my freighter sat, dented but no longer smoking, surrounded by a team of workers already repairing the hull. The sight of my ship, battered but still standing, felt like the first truly safe moment since I had crashed. Voss stopped a few steps away and studied me one final time. "Tell your people, when you return, that not every empire greets strangers with open weapons," he said. "Some of us are simply cautious until given a reason not to be." "I'll remember that," I said, and meant it. The workers finished their repairs faster than I expected, moving with practiced skill I had never seen in any station back home. Within a short time, my ship was ready to fly again, its coolant line fixed, its damaged hull patched smooth. I climbed into the cockpit, took one last look at the massive hangar around me, and lifted off slowly, guided by a small escort ship until I was clear of the planet's pull. As the stars stretched out ahead of me and the planet shrank behind, I found myself thinking about everything that had happened in what felt like only a handful of hours. I had crashed into the heart of an empire that had never known my species existed. I had stood surrounded by guards ready to end my life in an instant. And somehow, through nothing but honesty and a refusal to back down, I had walked away not as a prisoner, but as the first human that empire had ever chosen to trust. I did not know what would happen when I told my story back home. I did not know if anyone would believe me, or if this would be the beginning of something much larger than one accidental landing. But as my ship carried me farther from that world, I understood one thing clearly. Sometimes the most powerful thing a person can do is simply refuse to fall, even when surrounded on every side. And on that day, in a hall built for a queen who had never seen a human before, that was exactly what I had done.